Have a yarn to us, mate.
Kia ora koutou city councillors. I'm just here to emphasise the need for as many cycleways as possible to be built as quickly as possible to as high a standard as possible. The need might not be evident to those of you who don't cycle, and given the state of some of our infrastructure, I can't really blame you if you don't. And I do deeply respect and admire those of you who do cycle regularly. And there's a real and pressing need for more infrastructure. I cycle almost every day to get to where I need to go, and it just doesn't feel safe at all. In the past couple of weeks, I've been intimidated, I've been run off the road, been chased by a guy on his horn who wanted to swear at me a little bit, called me a, profanity allowed? He called me a fucking retard.
Okay, we won't go there anymore. Yep.
Well, I have to. It's
Carry on.
I'd have to go along that route in future. It's how I got to the supermarket, so it was pretty unpleasant. A couple of months ago, my friend was struck by a motor car in broad daylight in full compliance with the cycling code as he was going through a roundabout, and he suffered a concussion that put him a couple of weeks behind on his uni work and cost him an expensive trip to a medical centre. Everyone in the city deserves to feel safe, and our current cycling infrastructure just doesn't provide it. And what could be more important for the council than reducing injuries and death for the people of the city and helping us feel safe? In the draft annual plan, I noticed a suggestion to delay and change the design of Wheels to Wings, and neither should happen. Every day that it's not built as a protected cycle lane is a signal to cyclists that our lives aren't valued. When the countervailing concern is, on-street parking, how can the conclusion be anything but that cyclists' lives should be protected? And in fact, it's going to make life easier for drivers. The simple fact is that cars move faster than bikes, and by having us out of the traffic lanes and in the cycle lanes, where we'll be free to travel at the speeds that we want to go and safe from, opening car doors, because the fact is that with the painted cycleways, cars do park in them, then drivers will be able to drive, as fast as they want to go in the traffic lanes, while cyclists are safe. And there are concerns, that protected cycleways are going to reduce custom for businesses, but there have been plenty of studies, including an NZTA one, which looked at Christchurch itself, which found that it doesn't reduce custom to build cycleways, it actually increases it. And, business concerns should actually be secondary to safety. As I said, cycling isn't safe, and it just doesn't feel safe. And personally, I won't be travelling along the specific proposed route of Wheels to Wings any longer, though a few years ago in high school I did semi-regularly to meet friends. And I don't think you really want to be putting any future high school kids in the position of going along a dangerous road and risking being hit by a car just to meet their friends. And I just sincerely hope that you guys are going to prioritise safety going forward. And I just can't stress enough that on-street parking is not an important enough concern to balance against lives and cyclists' wholeness of body. On-street parking is just so asymmetrically compared to lives and wholeness of body that it shouldn't even be relevant. And even if it were true that cycle lanes reduce custom for businesses, it wouldn't matter. It would be a moral duty to protect the lives of cyclists, even if God himself, parked a fancy sports car beside your business and brought in billions of dollars every day. It would still be the right thing to do to get rid of his on-street parking if it preserved life. And it will. Big pardon?
I said, fair enough, good point.
Right. Protected cycleways are not, an abstract and theoretical amenity. They allow us to feel safe. And in a time of climate crisis, when it's more important than ever that we get people into active modes of transport and out of their cars, cyclists have to feel safe and protected by these cycleways. It's more important than ever. And, until we can feel safe, people just aren't going to bike. Thank you, City Councillors.
Right, I have two questions. Andre and Victoria.
Thank you very much. Just picking up on your point around Wheels to Wings. So we had a submission a couple of days ago. A submitter suggested that cyclists on Harewood Road can just use could just use common sense, and that a cycle lane would jeopardise motorists, particularly those in the trades. And they also said that parents probably choose to drive their kids to school because they would like them to get there safely, which is why they don't currently bike on Harewood Road. What would your response be to those thoughts,
Well, the first
or
thing,
these types of thoughts?
the first thing is that I believe it doesn't actually take away traffic lanes except for a very short stretch. So it's not actually going to change things for motorists for most of its length. And the other thing is that they're probably right to be afraid. Until we can get these protected cycleways in, they would be fully within their rights. It would be fully reasonable for them to be driving their kids to school.
Until you build the cycleway.
Until you build the cycleways.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, and Victoria, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph, for taking the time to come and present your submission today. Are you prepared to tell us which part of town you live in?
Yes.
Where do you live?
I live in Russley.
Lovely. And are you likely to use this cycle lane to get to work, or for...
No, I'll be
Don't-
crossing it socially, sometimes, but I won't be going along its length, and I won't be using it all that regularly on a daily basis.
I acknowledge your concerns. I'm interested in your thoughts around what part you think driver education has in terms of cycle safety.
It's an interesting concern, but ultimately I think it's just a design issue. The design promotes certain behaviours. The way that we design our roads puts the flow of cars first and above all other concerns. So until that sort of thing can change, then driver education is not going to be operative in increasing cycle safety, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Why?
Oh, Joseph, did I hear you right saying that as a high school student you used to bike on
Yes.
that road?
Yes.
Yeah, and that you'd have liked protection at that time.
That would have been nice. I didn't really feel safe having to avoid parked cars banked up with their car doors able to open on me at any second.
So you're really here talking for other people, not necessarily just for yourself.
Yeah,
'Cause
the fact is that I'm no longer going to use it with any particular frequency. I used it in the past, and I just don't think that other cyclists in the future should necessarily have the same risk when there's an opportunity that's so clear now to decrease the risk and make it safer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And lastly, for